Hi guys, welcome back to the Cornish Angler. It's the beginning of April, it's a Tuesday evening, and I am in good spirits hoping to catch some tench this evening. I've had a couple of blanks the last couple of sessions after I had that really good start on my first session. So yeah, hoping to get amongst some fish this evening. It's currently about 4:30. Nate's going to join me in about 2 hours time, and we're going to fish to about 9:30. The clocks have gone forwards, so we've got an extra hour of light in the evenings, so now it's not getting dark to about 7:30. And based on what we've seen so far, the tench don't seem to be coming out to feed till it gets dark. So to give us the best possible chance, we're going to fish to about 9:30, which gives us about 2 hours of darkness, and yeah, hopefully that'll get us a couple of fish on the bank. The conditions look pretty good for this evening. It's been absolutely chucking it down all day. I've got soaking wet at work. Managed to finish a little bit early, about 2:30. Went home, had a quick shower, picked up some ground bait from the local shop and made my way here. So I've got both rods out, they're both fishing. And yeah, I'm going to recast every half hour to begin with until about the time Nate gets here. And then I'm going to leave them out there until hopefully we get a bite. Like I say, 6:30 onwards tends to be when the bite time is, so yeah, don't want to get the rods in and out too often around that time. I'm fishing the same sort of tactics. I've got the camera on the left hand rod, that's got the flatbed feeder and my little yellow wafter. On the right hand rod I've decided to move it slightly, so I've gone a little bit further out and a little bit more to the right hand side. If you watched the recent video where I caught that tench and carp in my first session, you might remember the underwater footage, so that's really deep silt there, really soft silt as well. And I wanted to fish a different setup to suit that substrate. So on the right hand rod, I've changed it to a helicopter rig. That will allow the method feeder to hit the lake beds, sink into that substrate, into that silt, and then my wafter just slowly flutter down and just rest nicely on top of the substrate rather than get pulled in. That should also mean that my main line is sitting nicely. My hook link isn't going to be poking up. It's going to be sitting nice and flat on top of that silt. I've got the same hook bait on there for now, for yellow wafter. I have got some pellet I can use later if I fancy a change. We'll see how the first couple of hours go and base it from there. I've got a nice gentle southwesterly pushing down to my right hand side. Same sort of conditions I usually like when I fish this swim. And yeah, after a couple of blanks in this swim recently, really determined to catch myself a fish. I'm going to stay a little bit later and hopefully luck is on my side and we can get that double figure tench at last. So what I'll do now, I'll show you the two rigs I'm fishing. I'm going to get a bite to eat and hopefully wait for those bite alarms to ring out. Right, so here's setup number one. I've got about 75 centimeters of the tubing here. That should protect the main line, and also just to help that last little bit sit on the lake bed. Keep everything pinned down and out of the way. Then I've got an anti-tangle sleeve that I've cut down. So that's to join the tubing onto the camera. So that's the tube that inserts into the camera. Also running down to the camera. Got the lens this end. And then what I've done, I've pushed in the end of the method feeder into the clip of the camera there, so that helps to keep the camera steady on the lake bed and also pointing in the right direction. Also, this camera does float slightly, so I didn't have any weight here. The camera would tilt up like that. Obviously all you see is the silt. And then coming down to the method feeder, that's just a flatbed. This is the Guru one. Yeah, it is 28 grams. So that will sit like that. Anti-tangle sleeve, fluoro hook link, it's about 5 inches. And I've got a size 10 hook. Line the line there. And I've just chopped down the 10mm wafter to about 7mm probably. And then the rod for this one is the Penraf inshore rod. It's a lure rod. I use it for pike fishing, I use it for bass and wrasse fishing. I just want something a little bit heavier to cast the camera out with. That's a 20 to 80 gram. and a cheap little reel from AliExpress. So yeah, nice and simple. That's going to be my left hand rod. Hopefully we can pick something up on the camera. And like I was saying, on the right hand rod, I'm going to be fishing further out and to the right, and the underwater camera was showing very deep silt there. So I've gone for a helicopter rig on this one. So I'm just fishing the main line naked. Got a float stop, a quick chain swivel, followed by another float stop. So that will just kind of slide up and down a little bit there, make sure that rig can rotate around. And same rig again, anti-tangle sleeve, short fluoro hook link, size 10 hook. The only difference is the line is yellow, not red. And that's going straight down there to my method feeder at the bottom. And distance wise, I've set this so the hook bait starts about just an inch or so above the method feeder. Obviously it could land over there. I want a little bit of separation between the two, but hopefully when that fish picks up the bait, it's going to come into contact with that method feeder fairly quickly. And yeah, in theory this method feeder should just sit into that silt, and being a wafter, it should just slowly come down and just rest on top of the silt. That's the theory anyway. Hopefully we'll put it into practice and land us a fish or two. And on this one, more of a standard tench fishing rod. This is a Daiwa carp feeder mini method, 10 foot. Again, another little cheap AliExpress reel. It's actually a new one, first time I'm using it. Got a crazy handle on it, a bit like some of the pen fishing reels you see actually. As you see, the rod is covered in bits of ground bait. And that's going to be fishing much further out. You see that big tree in the distance, kind of more towards that direction. And yeah, probably more like 80 yards that one. Right, let's get this out there. So yeah, towards that big tree on the far margin, slightly to the right. Oh, and it's just hit the tripod. Brilliant. Let's move it out the way. Right, take two. Perfect. So it's just where I was catapulting some little balls of ground bait. Let's try and sink that line before it bows too much in the wind. Yeah, I do find that if you don't get your main line sorted, you end up with quite a big bow, especially with the wind pushing from left to right. So it's worth just taking your time, just slowly straightening the main line out. Also, that's going to help your bite indication. It's going to make you have much better line lay. That's looking much better, right. Got quite a heavy bobbin on there. Help keep that line tight. There we go. Rod one done. Feels like it's just about to rain again. Let's get this rod out there. Get my coat back on. So yeah, not going as far this one. Straight out in front. Sink the rod tip. Brilliant, right, we're fishing. Fingers crossed for that double pounder. Double pounder? That's double figure. To be honest, after a few blanks in this swim, I'll take a fish. Right, here's my ground bait mix for today. Based on a dynamite big fish green lipped mussel fish meal method mix. So I used this one quite a bit last year. In there, got some maize that I've cooked up. Try and find a bit of the hemp. There's a piece. Some hemp I prepared. There's some pellet in there as well. One there. Just be able to see it. So yes, mainly 6 mil, a few 8 mils in there as well. Start on this as my hook bait. So I've chopped it down to about 7 mil. I am feeling pretty confident this evening, mainly for the fact that I managed to get up here this morning and pre-bait. In the 2 previous sessions in the swim, I didn't manage to pre-bait, and I really think coming up either the morning or the night before to throw a few balls of ground bait in really makes a difference. But yeah, I got up at 5 o'clock this morning, brought down a bucket of bait with some ground bait, some hemp, some maize and some pellet, and threw probably about a dozen good sized balls of ground bait out on the spot in front of me. And that was the start of a busy day for me. After I pre-baited, jumped back in the car, went for a little run, went to the gym, went home, bit of breakfast and straight out to work. Got absolutely soaking wet, quick shower when I got home and straight down here. So yeah, by the time I leave, I'll be pretty knackered, but like I say, I feel much more confident in the fact I managed to get down here early this morning and put some bait out. Nate then turned up, and whilst he was having a wee, his rod went off. So I reeled in this decent roach on his behalf. Meanwhile, I was recasting the rods every half an hour or so, mainly to get a fresh scent of bait going on the spot regularly. Here, you can see the method feeder landing flat on the lake bed before the rig and hook bait slowly falls behind it perfectly, giving excellent presentation. Surely that's a bite.
Oh yeah, that's better. Oh, the rod's moving. That's better.
Fish on!
That's a lot better.
Well, Nate was determined for me to move swim.
Determined's a bit strong.
As soon as you arrived, you were like...
Shall we move? Yeah, alright, I was keen.
Yeah, oh, not a bad fish actually. Tenchy, yes. There we go, just under £6. First tench of the session. Have a roach. Nate has roach and a lot of little roach knocks. But yeah, just comes that time now. What time is it now? About 7?
7:45.
7:45?
Yep.
Oh, 7:45. And yeah, light is probably just about starting to fade. This one, the helicopter rig. Nate let me one of his little wafters, juiced up in a pineapple spray. And yeah, they smell really nice to be fair. And this one ripped off. Try and get one a bit bigger than this, but lovely colours on them. Really nice golden orange belly. Getting back. Time for a few more, hopefully. As the light started to fade, Nate and I had a good catch up, was hoping there'd be at least one more fish before we went home.
Yeah. Coming down so regularly.
Like twice a week.
Yeah.
Once a week. Yeah.
Yeah. You bastard.
That's a tench.
Oh yeah. Lovely. Another nice fish.
Unfortunately, the camera footage froze whilst I held up the second tench. It was the smallest tench I've caught so far from this reservoir, probably in the region of about £3. We stayed a bit longer, but everything went very quiet, so we called it a day and headed home. When I got home, I looked through the footage from the underwater camera and I was amazed to see so many tench feeding in the swim. So far, I've only seen a few tench swimming through the swim, so to see them now getting their heads down for a munch was really exciting to see. I can't tell if it's the same fish or a different fish on each clip, but I'm sure I can see the same fish at least a few times. Sometimes the fish are feeding on the balls of ground bait close to the feeder. Other times they seem like they're trying to inhale the feeder itself. There's a few occurrences when it looks like the hook bait is picked up when they're sucking in the ground bait off the feeder, but it's hard to tell if the hook point actually goes into the tench's mouth or not. There is one occasion when the hook bait is nicely separated from the feeder, and then you can clearly see the tench suck in the hook bait. If I slow the footage down, you can see that the hook doesn't turn towards the tench's bottom lip, and so it gets blown back out before the hook can hold. After seeing this, I'm definitely going to experiment with either a supple braided hook link or a combi type rig, so I can keep the anti-tangle properties whilst adding more movement to the hook. Unfortunately, it was too dark to see the action on the camera with the tench I landed on the left hand rod, but on my next video I do get a take on that rod whilst it's still light, so make sure you look out for that video coming soon. Or better still, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you know when that video is released. And that brings an end to this video. I'm really enjoying this tench campaign, and I hope you're enjoying watching the action unfold. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you again soon.